Back WNST to taking the show on the road again this week. Another incredibly long trip as far as airplane rides go and preparation for game time. This will be a 4 o'clock kick here as the Raiders and the Black Hole are the destination. This guy is RaiderBeat.com as well as RaiderBeat out on Twitter. He has appeared with us in the past on all things expertise in and around the now 2-2 and scuffling Oakland Raiders. We welcome Paul Wexler on from RaiderBeat and RaiderBeat.com. Paul, good day to you, man. How's it going?
Hey, man. Great. Thanks for having me back.
Well, I'll tell you what, the E.J. Manuel for Derek Carr thing from a Ravens fan perspective, I would say that's great. Certainly the 6 months leading up to the game, we were sort of expecting the big bad wolf of the Oakland Raiders out there and a very, very tough environment to play in for even a decent version of the Ravens. Ravens are scuffling right now, but they really did catch a little bit of a break this week, right?
Yeah, the Raider offense is a mess. There's no way to hide it. In fact, if you look at the two offenses, I think they're statistically about the same. So what you're seeing with Baltimore, you're about to see the same thing with Oakland. They're just not getting it done at all, even with Carr in there. And it might be because we've played two really tough teams in a row, but I hate to say that I've said this in the past, but they went and got all excited about Lynch and 30-year-old, and he's older than that, 30-year-old running backs that produce is rare as unicorns. And it's happening again. He's just not producing.
Well, I mean, how much is him and how much is the offensive line? And I guess that's the question because the money was spent on the offensive line to be elite. Hate using that word in a Joe Flacco conversation, but I would say that there's more money spent on that offensive line than any other O-line in the National Football League.
Yeah, that's because the GM's not great at drafting. So he bought himself a line. They did a nice job with that, but they're not producing very well. I mean, they're giving them some good pass coverage, but in the run, they're not doing much. But I do think some of that is that he's just not as quick as he used to be, and you're not seeing their quick backs get much play. So it's a combination, and also Carr's not getting much help from his receivers. Crab's been down, and as you've seen, or maybe you haven't seen, Cooper can't seem to catch the ball, and he is producing at not even the level of a 2 receiver right now. So without that, I think teams have been stacking the box. So I think the combination is, if you get 8 guys in the box or a couple safeties creeping up, it's hard to run in this league.
Well, this is a scary game for the Raiders because the Ravens do play some defense. They have not defended the run particularly well the last 2 weeks here, and I know you guys were barely getting out of bed last Sunday when they were in London losing 44-0 at one point. I was unfortunately on the 30-yard line at Wembley for that, Paul. But in the case of the Raiders and running the football and what they would want to do in this football game, throwing the ball up in the air with the Ravens secondary right now, that's a way to lose the game. And from what I understand, the Raiders secondary is really sort of their weakness. That was the Ravens' case for years and years. That's not the case this year for this team.
Well, I mean, it's interesting. I mean, you're going to see, and a couple guys are still hurt, and so I don't know if Emerson's going to play. I don't know if the rookie Conley's going to play. So you could see Smith and T.J. Carey back there. Now, they played okay last week, but it's not murderer's row. So it will be interesting. The safeties have played better. You've got Nelson back there, and you've got last year's rookie that played pretty well with Carl Joseph. So they've improved back there. Not great, and we're still having the same old problem. I would expect your tight end there, Mr. Watson, to light it up because they still have not figured out how to cover a tight end running through the middle there.
Khalil Mack still the best player on the field on Sunday, right?
Absolutely. Every play. But again, they're doing exactly, and you're going to see the Raiders do this as well. You'll probably leave somebody in the backfield to chip him coming around off the edge, and it slows him down. But he's a factor in all these games. But as you saw last year, the Raiders, were last in the league in sacks. Now, and we're getting some play out of, I think he's a third-year player. Mario Edwards Jr. When he's healthy, he is a factor, and he's looked pretty good in the last few weeks. So that helps off the other edge. If they get a little push in the middle and some help, then it loosens back up, and he can wreck a game, as you've seen.
Paul Wechsler is RaiderBeat.com as well as RaiderBeat out on Twitter. You can follow him for all things Raiders. From Texas down to Florida and out to Oakland, he covers the team pretty solidly and has for a number of years. Thoughts for you on the whole notion of the division at this point and Denver and Kansas City being better? I don't know that any of us saw Denver and Kansas City as being the elite teams in this division. I think we all saw Oakland as being that team. This has been a little bit upside down at the quarter pole. This is a huge, huge game for the Raiders given their schedule. The Chargers and the Chiefs on the back end at home. The Raiders have played a lot on the road. They have a really tough back end of their schedule, have a really tough road schedule late in the season. They play 3 out of their last 4 on the road. They have to play in Mexico City against Tom Brady. It's a weird year for them, and 2-2, they were not supposed to get off to a slow start. That could really be detrimental to them down the line.
No, and it's a must-win for the Raiders. I mean, we have to face it. To win the division, it's a must-win for the Raiders because Kansas City's taking off, and Kansas City's solid all the way on both sides of the ball. They're playing great. Smith has really stepped it up, whether he's feeling the pressure from the rookie or not. He's playing some of the best ball he's played. And I think the surprise is Denver. I think Denver's playing better than people expected. I think everyone expects them to have a solid defense, and again, they do. But their offense is adequate, and an adequate offense on Denver is a scary thought because Simeon continues to be solid enough to make them win games, and that's a scary thought for the league, especially when teams like the Raiders are having injuries and the Patriots don't have a defense. So that makes Denver scary. But Kansas City and Denver are both really, really good teams. So the Raiders, yeah, you're right. They have to win this game. Just to stay in the mix. And with Carr out for 2 to 6 weeks, Carr will try to play as soon as he can. He may only be out for 1 week, but they need him back. EJ played pretty well. Manuel, he played pretty well in his limited time in that game. Certainly a lot better than Cook did when they threw him to the Wolves in the Houston game last year. But they need Carr. They rally around him, and they're going to need him. And they're also going to need Cooper to step back up if they're going to get back into this for a run at the end of the year.
It is fascinating on the quarterback side. We've had Flacco around here. We didn't know if he was going to play at all. They said he would play. He doesn't look like he can run to the sticks at this point. I mean, he doesn't look completely physically sound to me. He doesn't look the guy he used to be, that's for sure. And in the case of Derek Carr, you knew coming off the injury that there was all of that concern, and we had that with Flacco here last year after the knee injury 2 seasons ago. You wonder what it's going to be, but then you hear the 2 to 6 week thing. 2 sounds like tremendously optimistic. 6 sounds like, well, there goes your year, right? Like literally, when you hear 2 to 6 weeks on your quarterback, and the quarterback position is not something with this kind of an injury where he's just going to come back. I mean, first hit, it could recur pretty easily at that position.
Right. They're going to have to protect him, which they do a pretty good job of. I mean, he's had some kind of odd injuries. Romo was out for 1 week, I believe, with this injury. Probably not a great example.
Cam Newton, same thing, yes.
Sent him out. Yeah, so it'll be interesting to see how long he's out. Carr is a gamer. What always scares me with Carr is if you see him come off the field, that's it. He's going out for the game because I think he literally could break a finger in half, and I think he has at times dislocated things, and he pops it back in and he runs back in. He's a tough guy, and he doesn't want to come out of a game. So anytime I see him wince and walk out, oh boy, something's bad. And so, but I do think he'll get back on it as fast as possible, and I think it's possible with this injury. But is an 80% or a 70% Carr good enough right now? I don't know. I don't know the answer to that. It's an interesting team, and if their running game was stronger, I think the answer would be 80% of Carr would be fine. But right now, until they figure out the run, I don't know the answer to that. Todd Downing has not been a miraculous improvement for this. They got rid of Musgrave in the offseason. He went to Denver as the quarterback's coach. That was the offensive coordinator because they were afraid of losing Todd Downing to another team. They promoted him, and it has been not a great situation so far. The offense has been really bad.
Well, the expectations have to be lower with E.J. Manuel, right?
Yes, they are, because Manuel is what Manuel is. He is going to be your prototypical backup. I mean, he's going to come in, if you're lucky, you're going to get a passer rating of 75 out of him, maybe 200 yards and hopefully a touchdown or 2 and an interception. I mean, he is going to give you that, and that's what they're going to get out of him.
He is Paul Wexler. RaiderBeat.com is the way to find him, as well as RaiderBeat out on Twitter. Last thing for you, I mean, you do this from afar, and you're a Raiders supporter from far half the country away. Some thoughts about this Oakland to Vegas move from the fan base side of the people who aren't in Oakland, who are Raiders fans.
I think it's phenomenal for them. I think it's terrific. I think there's a whole, and I spend a lot of time outside of Oakland, so I think the fans are so excited for this because I think they're all going to try to buy partial packages. What's better for, people or family or guys? I'll buy 2 games in Vegas. It gives me 2 weekends there with the family. Come in on a Friday, leave on a Monday, enjoy Vegas, go to the game, leave on a Monday. It's a lot more exciting, and it's a lot easier to talk to wife, kids, friends, whoever it is, to go to that game and enjoy the weekend. And hey, let's go to Oakland for the weekend. It's just not as appealing. I'm not trying to be bad on Oakland, but there's just more to do.
Well, it is connected to San Francisco on the BART. That's the good news, Paul.
It is, but it's also easier to get in and out of Vegas from anywhere, and cheaper flights and everything else. And I think the success of that stadium is also going to be that every road team that wants to go there, for instance, if you guys were traveling to Vegas this year, there'd probably be a lot more excitement for that road game.
Oh, there's no doubt about that. Yes.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a huge success. I mean, I really do. I think people will embrace them, and I think people, their national fans will embrace it. And I think it's just going to be a fun national kind of team that'll get embraced. I think it's a terrific move for them.
Dude, we'll stay in touch. We'll continue to follow you out at RaiderBeat on Twitter as well as RaiderBeat.com. Paul, great visit, man. Thanks for coming on.
Hey, thanks for having me. It was great talking to you.
Paul Wexler from RaiderBeat.com giving us some insights on all things Oakland Raiders. And, of course, the Ravens taking off for another long trip here this weekend out to the Bay Area to take on the 2-2 Raiders and their backup quarterback. The Ravens, a complete box of chocolates. Luke and I, amongst many others this week, have talked about that nationally as well as to what has happened to the offense, what's going to happen to this defensive line, getting Brandon Williams back out on the field, stopping the run, Marshawn Lynch. All back and forth. We'll be on it all week long. Luke's on the backfields in Owings Mills. And, of course, anything you miss here, you can find in the BuyAToyota.com audio vault 24 hours a day from anywhere in the world on your mobile device by downloading the TuneIn Radio app. We do come in crystal clear from wherever you happen to be. Our morning newspaper ships to your email inbox at 7 a.m. every morning. It's all brought to you by and digitalized by our friends at Planet Fitness at planetfitness.com. Last but never least, breaking news happens first on our WNST tech service. That's all brought to you by Coons Ford of Security Boulevard. And Dennis Kolatzos will be here on Thursday with the SSV on WNST, driving you home. I'm going to stop by and visit with Dennis as well. Playoff baseball this weekend. Caps dropping the puck. It is October. The leaves are changing. My birthday's next week. We're trying to find a new home for our Ravens live shows and for our swabbings. For There Goes My Hero. You can read about that in my blog at WNST.net. And, of course, you can find us on Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, Snapchat, Instagram, streaming live on our Facebook, as well as our YouTube WNSTV channel. We are WNST.net, AM 1570, and WNST Towson, Baltimore, and we never stop talking Baltimore sports.